going on, guys? Josh Ponius here with Ella Armament. I wanted to do a video tonight in regards to New Mexico and the new law that the governor just put out. I do apologize. I'm going to move quick through this. I have a lot to get through. So what happened? There was a shooting where an adult female and an 11-year-old boy were in a vehicle. 17 rounds were fired upon them by a perpetrator. The boy was killed. The adult female was sent to the hospital in critical condition. So in response to that, Governor Michelle Grisham on Friday released an emergency public health order that stated that no firearms can be open carry or concealed carry, not only in Albuquerque but also in the surrounding county. And a lot of the buzz right now is this a violation of the Second Amendment and the Constitution? I'm going to save my thoughts and my opinion for the very end. I do want to give you some stats, as always, just to kind of paint the picture. I'm going to ask some questions and cover some numbers. I'm going to make a very general statement right now, and I do hope that everybody understands. Anytime that you're talking about deaths, one death is a lot. It's off the heels of an 11-year-old boy losing his life. It's not to minimize any of that. I think it's just a conversation that we have to have about violating the constitutional freedoms of law-abiding citizens in the Second Amendment. So 20,000's a ton, 600's a ton, 500's a ton, 1's a ton. So please, as I burn through the numbers, please don't take it out of context. My goal is only to kind of paint an accurate picture. The first question I want to ask that is just glaring to me is, what if the ant had a gun? And I say that with a lot of hesitancy because my fear is that I have a gun and I can't use it to protect my family. And God forbid if they are killed and I live, that is a fear that I think would haunt me for the rest of my life, that I failed them. I failed to protect them. Their death and their blood is now on my hands because I had the opportunity to do it and I failed to protect. So I don't mean to put blame on the ant. That's not my heart. I think what I'm trying to highlight is that if a good guy has a gun, at least when they come against a bad guy with a gun, they have a chance to write their own story. You're not subject to the fate and the behavior of the criminal. And unfortunately, from what it sounds like, she did not have a gun, and her future and the 11-year-old boy was subject to the fate of a criminal. So just another encouragement, anyone that doesn't have a firearm, get yourself one, carry it legally, follow your state regulations, go through some CCW training. I know Ohio, a lot of states have constitutional carry. Don't do it for the CCW permit aspect, do it for the training aspect. Know how to use it, train often, shoot often, and be sure you're shot. I do believe if the ant had a firearm, though, that the end of the story may have possibly been different. When you look at stats, what happens when a good guy with a gun is on the scene? I have a post coming out Sunday morning. I'm not going to get into it right now. It really breaks down a lot of different scenarios like Columbine and the shooting at the movie theater. How many casualties were they? And then when you compare it to incidents where there was a good guy with a gun on site, not only the time of response is sometimes you're talking as long as an hour and 15 minutes like the Uvalde shooting, compared to Eli Dicken where he neutralized the threat at the mall, it was 15 seconds. So an hour and 15 minutes compared to 15 seconds, huge difference. Some of those shootings, you're talking upwards of 105, 110 people that were killed, deaths, not just injured people, deaths. And most of the time when there's a good guy on site that has a firearm in hand, that has adequate training, that knows how to use it and is confident, it's usually single digits, not only deaths, but people injured in general. So I'm not going to burn through all the numbers. Statistically, you could check it out tomorrow. It'll be pretty much on every social media platform. Yeah, check out the stats. It's there. The short version, spoiler alert, when a good guy with a gun is on site, the numbers speak for themselves. So how many people actually die by a firearm? The CDC would tell you almost 49,000 per year. The reason I have an issue with that is because when you dive a little bit deeper, my resource is gunviolencearchive.org, which is absolutely amazing when it comes to figuring out the stats. You find out that suicides per year are actually attached to the CDC's number. I'm not minimizing suicide. I'm not saying they don't matter. I'm saying when you're talking about self-defense and trying to figure out how many threats in the U.S. were there that were successfully able to take a life with a firearm that was not their own, you have to subtract the suicide number just to get an accurate picture. Again, I'm not minimizing suicide. It breaks my heart. I work with a lot of people that are potentially suicidal and going through some emotional struggle. Their life matters. Those individuals that committed suicide, their life mattered. Their family really struggles. That's a lot of pain. But again, when I'm talking about how many people successfully took another life and caused death willfully, maliciously, or accidentally, in order for this sake to look at the numbers, you got to disconnect from the suicides. When you take the suicides out, it's 20,200. So how many people were able to take a life that was not their own in 2022 with a firearm? The number is 20,200. When you look at the amount of people that are killed in a motor vehicle or traffic accidents in 2022 alone, it was 42,795. You are twice as likely to be killed in your car than you are for somebody to pull a firearm on you and kill you. I don't hear anybody calling for the abolishment of alcohol, for DUIs and people that drive under the influence. God forbid you get in an accident and kill somebody. I don't hear anybody calling for that. I don't hear anybody calling for manufacturers of vehicles to be held accountable for somebody else crashing a vehicle. It's not to minimize those deaths, but you are twice as likely to die in your car, and that's a conversation that we fail to have, right? I think the numbers are always escalated in the sense of firearms, and people try to paint a picture that is most often inaccurate. At the end of the day, it boils down to, if a criminal is ready to kill you, mentally their criminal activity, their criminal behavior, and their criminal attitude is so high, they're desensitized to the justice system and desensitized to the consequence. They are absolutely ready to buy a firearm illegally. They will scratch off serial numbers. They'll do whatever it takes to obtain the weapon. If they're ready to murder you willfully, if they're ready to kill you willfully, they're absolutely ready to break the law and obtain a firearm. So when you start to implement laws that prevent people from buying firearms, what you do is you only cause a barrier to the law-abiding citizen that then wants to carry for the protection, because the criminal is going to get one either way. Problem is, criminals don't follow the law. So what is my biggest bone to pick with all of this? The issue is, anytime that somebody dies, especially a child, gun control starts to become a topic, and what they try to do is present the issue in a way that the firearm is now compared directly to the life. So they put you in a position as somebody that supports the Second Amendment that makes you feel like if you stand up for the Second Amendment, you don't value the 11-year-old boy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I actually value the opposite, that if his aunt would have pursued the legal way to obtain a firearm and trained with it, she probably could have saved his life, or at least fought for it and prayed that she saved it. It's not about attaching another law. Criminals don't follow it anyway. How about finding a way to empower the citizens to follow the Second Amendment, train, come adequately comfortable with the way that they can step up and start protecting the ones that they love. But the narrative is always attaching the emotion to make you feel uncomfortable, that you're now comparing the life to the freedom. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's not it. So if you haven't guessed by now, yes, I absolutely think that this is a violation of the Constitution. I do believe it's a violation of the Second Amendment. Anytime you attempt to blanket remove a constitutional freedom, it's a gross mishandling of power, and especially when it's the exception to the rule, and you can see that this is clearly the exception to the rule. I do want to highlight the good news. Others feel the same. Shout out to the County Sheriff, John Allen, who takes a stand. I posted his quote on social media. I'm not going to read it to you, but it is absolutely amazing. He took a stand. He spoke out. He said, yeah, this is not good. This violates the oath that I took to protect and uphold the Constitution. Good on him. Again, huge shout out to County Sheriff John Allen. Also, Senator Greg Baca, he said, a child's murdered, a perpetrator is still on the loose, and what does the governor do? She targets law-abiding citizens and an unconstitutional gun order. Again, same rhetoric, same narrative, round and round we go. It's always the gun, it's never the individual. Continue to challenge the narrative, continue to challenge the rhetoric. Here at Ella Armament, we do stand on the Second Amendment. We want to promote people's constitutional freedom. We want to promote your ability to protect the ones that you love, and we do want to continue to fight for the Second Amendment. Like the video, share it away, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all the feedback, and thank you guys so much for the support.